Just gonna look at some of these comments because I think they're kind of funny and they're just kind of exposing of where people's minds are at, where our world's going. So this guy says, unpopular opinion, most modern women aren't getting married anytime soon, and deep down they know it. So he's basically just commenting on, current state of affairs. Of course, this woman, if you go to her page, she's got some BS. But let's just look at the comments. So here's a simp. First guy, Derek. He says they don't get married if she wants to. Simping. She says neither are the men. So, yeah, well, of course, if women aren't getting married, then men aren't getting married. That just makes sense. Women seem to think their autonomy doesn't affect anybody else, but it actually affects everything. It affects the entire world. As someone who has been married before, these women won the lottery of life. Yeah, not really. So you're throwing away intimacy, deep love. You're throwing away companionship for what? Hookups? For what? Your career? For what? Random dick? Doubt it. I doubt you really won the lottery of life. They know a lot of things. They get on here and say they just be coping. Yeah, that's facts. They know a lot of things. That's true. I've been saying that lately. Women know exactly what's going on. They're just, I'll never put it past them to act like they're just too ignorant to understand what they're doing. I think it's ego. I think it's narcissism. I also think that the reason why a lot of the reason why they do what they do and taking advantage of what they're taking advantage of is because it's fun. Is because the Bible says there's a temporary pleasure in sin. A temporary pleasure in sin. Okay? Meaning it's fun for a while. And you could even have fun for a decade, for 2 decades. You really can. You really can be 18-year-old hot girl and just be enjoying random dick for 20 years until you're 38, until you're 40. But what are the consequences? That's the point. What are the consequences? What are you sacrificing? You're sacrificing your youth. Eventually, your beauty's going to fade. Your morals are in utter decay. Okay, your heart is screwed up. You're jaded. You're probably bitter over guys that you actually had a bond with and had a soul tie with that didn't marry you or settle down with you, right? And you probably fell in love a couple times and got your heart broke a couple times, because this is what happens. And then this is the self-fulfilled prophecy that women do. They go out, they sleep around with bad boys, they fall in love with one of them, and then they're mad because the guy didn't settle down with her, but she has nothing to settle down with. She's not a good person, she's not a good woman, and he's probably not either. So why would he settle down? And these women, they act like, well, I'm a beautiful woman, therefore I'm the queen and I deserve everything. And it's like, well, you're going to see what you deserve. You're going to get the consequences for your actions. We all reap what we sow. The Bible says that we reap what we sow. Meaning you're going to get consequences for your behavior. So you're going out there acting like, I could do whatever. No, you can't. There's going to be a consequence. You can try, right? All right, let's keep going. This girl's gloating that her ex tried to marry her. Oh no, her ex tried to marry some other girl and she said hell no, so she's gloating about that. Okay. Whenever I read modern anything, I roll my eyes. All women today are modern or they wouldn't be alive today. Yeah, okay, that's not what we mean when we say modern women. What we mean is non-traditional women. That's what modern means. It means non-traditional women. It means women who don't have good morals, don't have traditional values, which is chastity, love, marriage, family, kids. They're warped by feminism. That's what modern women is. Yes, we're living the modern times, but that's not what we mean when we say modern women. There are potentially, I don't even think so, but could be potentially traditional minded women out there. You might run across a few once in a while, but yeah, anyway. My first thought is, why does he care? He's correct. Marriage is not even in their catalog. Just plane flights, cruises, parties, and the next body in their bed. Facts. I think they know it too, so they're finding other things to think about. There are so many ways to be happy and contented outside of marriage. I don't think women are really losing a lot of sleep over it, honestly. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They absolutely are. They're getting on TikTok and crying. They're making videos of how they're so sick of being lonely. They're making videos about how they're lamenting that men don't approach them anymore. They just can't understand why they're single. They're crying all over TikTok and YouTube or whatever wherever they're uploading these videos, and they're crying about. Just go watch a channel called Taylor the Fiend. Taylor the Fiend. He's a red pill guy. He posts their videos every day. There's videos every single day of women crying about how they hate being single, right? So they're not happy, and they're the ones who hold the cards. Men haven't changed. Men have always wanted marriage. It's women. Women are the ones who are warped and who are messed up. I don't think women are really losing a lot of sleep over it, honestly. Yes, they absolutely are. They're crying and whining and lamenting in all their videos about how they don't like being single anymore. Why can't I just find my guy? But they're not lowering their standards. They're not living in reality. They're not, looking at their life realistically. Some of them don't even want to get married, and the ones that do, says the guys, aren't masculine these days. Too many with YN mentalities want to be rappers, or they play with the same. My daughters, whom I'm raising to be wives and refuse to settle being a baby mama, have it hard. Oh yeah, right. There's no good men out there. You throw a rock in any direction and hit a good man. That's not the problem. The problem is that women are warped. This is what I'm talking about. This type of mentality is backwards. I don't think that's you're not being honest, or you're just unable to self-crit. You're unable to take accountability for your own actions. I guess to some extent it does take an intelligent person to look at their own behavior and say, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to change my attitude, or but women just can't do that because they're raised from a young age with this, what I call the princess mentality. They get princess treatment. Oh, I'm a woman, so therefore I can't do any wrong. This is why a woman who's raised by a single father actually is a better woman. It's a better deal. Women who are raised by single fathers tend to be a bit more rational, a bit more accountable than women who are raised by these tyrant mothers who have the cuck father who's just happy wife, happy life. He's like that little king in what's that, Alice in Wonderland from Disney. Go watch that Disney. Go watch The King and the Queen from Alice in Wonderland, and the queen is just this tyrant, and the king is this little short dude, and he's like, oh yes dear. That's what a lot of marriages are like. That's what a lot of young girls are growing up in, that type of marriage where their mother's just a controlling tyrant and their father's just this passive little beta male. Yes dear, happy wife, happy life. And then these young girls grow up to be just horrible, and they treat men horrible because they see how their mom treated men. I mean, you combine that with feminism, and it's just like kerosene on a match. It's just kerosene on a fire. It's good luck. I don't think that's a huge deal to them anymore. Yeah, women are lonely. Nah, don't get it twisted. Women are lonely. They might pretend like they're not. They're always doubling down. They're always doubling down on their arrogance. That's true. They might pretend like they're not. They might be out. There's temporary. Having hookups, having a sneaky leak, having a sneaky link or whatever they call it. Having a side dude or a guy they can call at 12 a.m. Sure, it can replace a marriage. It can. But it can't do the same things a marriage can do. That she's not going to have the deep love for that guy. That guy's not going to hold her like she wants to be held. They're not going to have the soul tie, or they might have a soul tie, but it's not going to be the same type of mutual love that a marriage has. But it can do a good deal of replacing it. It can somewhat replace it, but it's not the same thing. So they're deep down, they're lonely. And sin, the problem with sin is eventually you become unsatisfied. Sin doesn't satisfy you forever. It's a temporary satisfaction. And the Bible even talks about that. It says, if you drink of this well, you will thirst again. But if you drink the waters that I will give you, this is Jesus talking. He says, if you drink of this well, you will thirst again. But if you drink of the waters that I will give you, you will you'll never be thirsty or whatever, right? The point there is that when we follow God and we act righteous, we are satisfied deeply in our soul. But when it comes to sinning, we always end up unhappy. It's pleasurable, it's titillating in the moment as you're doing it, as you're hooking up or whatever you're doing, but eventually there's a crash. Eventually there's remorse, and there's you reap what you sow. So you can't tell me that these women aren't, and maybe they're happy now. Maybe for the next 5 years they'll be quote unquote happy, but eventually they're gonna wake up and they're gonna be like, oops. Eventually, and it's just a lot of what happens then is mental illness, or they hide it psychologically. Anyway, news travels fast these days. They can see how bad marriage can be, so no need to rush such a commitment. I mean, she's got a point. Yeah, that's true. You don't want to jump into a bad marriage, and that's problematic, and I understand that. I'll give her some clout there. That's true. That's true. Marriages can be bad, and in a bad marriage, the concept of a bad marriage dissuades people from getting married. That's true. And just because you get married doesn't mean you're guaranteed to have a happy marriage. So I'll give her some credence there for sure. It's not opinion, it's a fact. Morose in our demographic, that part about them actually knowing it is debatable, because we do have a lot of delusional women amongst us. Been married twice, working on my third. Marriage is overrated unless he's a provider that worships the ground you walk on. Oh God, so you're on your third marriage and you still haven't learned how to treat a man right. It's all about you, huh? 50-50 doesn't work. Don't do it. Don't marry if the sex is bad. If you have high standards, don't marry a man with a daughter with low standards. Don't marry the provider of a family, because they will sabotage the relationship to get him back. Have a good day. My goodness, this woman has been through some trauma. And it sounds like it's her. A lot of it's her own doing. My goodness. If you have high standards, don't marry a man with a daughter with low standards. Don't marry a man with a daughter with low standards. I'm not even sure what that means. Don't marry the provider of a family, because they will sabotage the relationship to get him back. Jesus, this woman's been through it. If you have high standards, well, why do you have high standards? Why don't you just love the man you're with? Have you tried loving the man you're with and not seeking a provider? It's like she hasn't learned. She's on her third marriage and she hasn't learned. Anyway, and they're living their best life. Blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. Correction, they're not getting married at all. Most of them don't even want an actual family. Just want a baby and a check. I mean, that's true in a lot of cases. Nobody is marrying them because somewhere someone has made them believe that they can move like men and still be wifeable. Facts. Which is fine with me, not against it, but it's not a priority of mine at all. Yeah, nobody's marrying them because somewhere someone made them believe that they can move like men and still be wifeable. Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. That is facts. Anyway, I'm going to end this, but yeah, there's a lot of delusion, man. Why aren't women getting married? Well, lots of reasons, man. Feminism.